Okay, I know you guys are probably thinking that, hey Piglet, why are you gonna save this up until the forms of until November? Well, truth be told guys, I managed to able to rewatch the previous parts of this Let's Play for about a few days ago actually, and noticed that the actual views count was actually like slightly higher at this rate, so even then, and also I've noticed about the fact that they expect me to able to actually just to go back to Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. Go back onto Banana Blitz. I enjoyed that particular Let's Play. And I was like, well, I'm also up for it. And I really don't mind if how the fact that originally that Sonic was supposed to be coming back into Kingdom Hearts Final Mix at this rate. But then, as soon as we're able to actually realize is the fact that the actual views count is actually way higher up compared to the forms of how it does it on the majority of the Let's Plays at this point. So I said to Sonic that, do you think we should probably able to actually let me handle with Banana Blitz continuation Let's Play? And then he was just like, he doesn't mind it at all. So even then, because he needs some more time before he decides to deal with the Hades Cup apparently, with the forms of Olympus Coliseum and stuff. So anyway though, that's for a little bit of a little update for you guys. So even then, we'll just get this video started. So, hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I am Piglet here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz for the Nintendo Wii. So, last time we have managed to able to, go through World 6, which is called Corporate Caverns, which in this case is one of my least favorite worlds in the whole entire game. And because, I've already explained about that majority of the time for that description of that particular world, but even then though, things can get a little bit more relative and all that stuff. So, today for this episode is the fact that we're about to be continue things on and move on to the 7th world in this game, known as Volcanic Pools, which, as you can no doubt by this little theme of this world, is the fact that it takes place in the volcanic lava level. So even then, it kind of reminds me of that World 5 from the likes of Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. In fact, the actual music for this particular world is actually a remix of the forms of, specifically Volcanic Lava World from Touch and Roll, because I can definitely tell with the actual, the tone of the actual instruments or anything like that. However, though, I will say is that it feels a little bit out of place in the forms of the HD remastered version of this world, according to whatever I've seen the actual gameplay footage so far. Because for whatever reason, on the HD version of Banana Blitz HD, in PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC Steam version, they somehow managed to put in a space theme music from the likes of the original Super Monkey Ball for some reason. And I was like, that's a little bit of a missed opportunity to able to place that in there. I mean, should have just able to actually save it for Space Case in the HD remaster or something, but apparently though it's been placed onto the forms of the space music from the likes of the original Monkey Ball, and I was like, I'm fine with that because I had so much nostalgic when it comes to the forms of the original Monkey Ball for the GameCube. Well, not so much the arcades though, because the arcades didn't manage to able to first release in Japan only, so... But you get the idea for that little solution right there. So, yeah, as for this point in time, if you couldn't tell, I actually lost my life on the forms of the first stage in Volcanic Pools, because, as to be expected, the game starts to get a lot more tougher and difficult at this point. So even then, as you know doubted by this point in time, is the fact that we need to able to get a lot of emphasis on timing, and oh my god, these pyramids. Well, not so bad in the forms of this world in particular, but when we get to the 10th and the final world in the whole entire game, you notice about the fact that you guys should know what I'm talking about for this point, but either way, oh god, these grind rails system, which even then it's not as easy to able to actually land on these things sometimes, because I swear I was gonna able to jump on one of those these little safety railings and stuff like that. Sometimes I instantly bounce off of it, which even then might be sounds a little bit luck-based, or even attempt to will be, but even then, no, it's just a little bit of a convenience that is, which I don't know if the HD remastered version of this game were able to actually switch it over to a different platform. But even then, we'll find out and see what happens until tomorrow. Because yes, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD will be released tomorrow for everywhere else. So even then, well, all except in Japan though, because the Japanese version might actually get the game until exactly in Halloween Day, which is roughly the same day as the Japanese release of Luigi's Mansion 3, or as far as the actual title on that game for Japan's version of it, it just calls it Luigi Mansion 3, so even then, compared to the rest of our countries though, it just simply mainly calls it Luigi's Mansion 3, just because, well, it's a Luigi game, that's to be expected, so... Now for this time and go forth, especially noticeable in World 7, 8, and 9, and especially 10, well, except number 10 though, because even then, we'll, save that until any forms of, let's just say, at sometime in next month or two, so even then, for the time being, we'll have to switch over between those different monkeys for the time being, and because of this though, since that, you know, I've already shown you guys what the actual different monkeys, different attributes they actually contains, like, you know, the Doctor, you know, has the ridiculously good top speed, and also Ai is the most balanced character, of course, to be expected, and Yan Yan was actually is the biggest jumper of all time, and I believe Gon Gon has the best strength, so even then, and as for everything else, there's not much else to really compensate on this. Are you serious? Oh jeez, I'm having so much bad luck with this level, as you can tell, because sometimes though, I will admit though, is that the first level and the third level, I found is very, very luck-based sometimes, because I swear to God, I was able to actually try to go for the goal, specifically on the third stage, if you couldn't tell. If you somehow get bumped onto the edge of the goal, you're pretty much gonna get life wasted, because even then, if you don't even like landing on that for the entire time, well, basically you have to able to actually take a risk, so even then, yeah, that's a little bit of a problematic when it comes to luck factor of those kinds of stages like this, so... I will say though, is that the music is actually very good on this particular world, if you couldn't tell, even though it did manage to fit the atmosphere quite nicely, because, you know, it's basically a lava-themed level of all that, but, again, as I mentioned this before, that if you ever try to able to actually get this on the HD remaster, they, for whatever reason, just puts in the Super Monkey Ball 1 Space World music, which doesn't make that much sense to me though, but I'm guessing it's because of how the fact that, well, I don't know what it is for that little decisions to make, so... And also you have to be super precise of the actual controls in this particular stage, as you can probably tell for this point, because even then, if you're being too fast on that part, well, you're probably gonna guarantee you might actually waste a lot of lives, so... And here's the bonus stage in Volcanic Pools, easily one of my least favorite bonus stages in the whole entire game. I mean, it's alright in the beginning, especially on the second part, but the third one, or the third slide segment, or actually is probably by far the difficult ones to able to conquer through, because no matter what, how many times I was gonna able to actually jump straight onto the actual one slanted hill to another, and then sometimes though, I always keep on failing for that kinds of stuff, so, and also it's kind of random. Whenever you're trying to able to actually land on that platforms to begin with, and then sometimes the actual momentum will able to actually sometimes feels a little bit screwier. But either way though, that's probably this probably is the most definition of my least favorite bonus stage in the whole entire game. I'm gonna tell you that right now, so... Not much else has been going on for the actual news, updates, or anything like that, I'm afraid, guys, apart from the fact that, well, tomorrow, that the Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD will be releasing tomorrow for the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One for, you know, American and the UK versions, because I have no idea why that the Japan's version of the forms of Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz HD never saw the light of day in Japan for the Xbox One audiences. I have no idea why, but let me know in the comments below about the fact that why does it usually happens in Japan. So, whilst in the Japanese version only gets the, well, let's just say a PlayStation 4 version or the Nintendo Switch version. So, it's probably both though, really. So even then, you probably get the idea for that point. So... And I'm not going to able to actually switch over to Gon Gon or Doctor yet though, until the 8th world at this point, because, well, I really recommend you not be using Gon Gon or Doctor on this world, because then again, the actual top speed is so ridiculous when it comes to Gon Gon, and especially noticeable with Doctor of all things, and plus it's not as easy to able to actually just stop in the middle of a dime. and as a result of this kind of stuff, you will constantly fly off in the majority of the stages most of the time. So definitely not that in mind, but either way though, that's as simple as you expect. So anyways, let's slide down all the way here and go for straight to the goal. And I think we've only got about 2 more levels left until the next boss, which at this point in time is that both World 7 boss, especially with the final boss in the game, I think those bosses might actually start to get a lot more tougher at this point, because either way, we'll point things out whenever we get to those bosses, after we're able to actually go through a goblet of the actual stages themselves. So this might be familiar to you for those who ever played Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll level in specifically in Studio 1 world, where basically we need to able to ride onto that specific spirally tower section, and then basically get into the goal in the process here. So even then, it kind of reminds me of that particular level from Touch and Roll, and also at the same time Spiral Bridge from the likes of Super Monkey Ball 2 / Deluxe, but except there is no flat thing attached to it. So, and this level is actually pretty fun though, because we can able to actually get a lot of emphasis on, you know, speed boost pads. So even then, it's not too bad. You need forms of those little particular levels like this, but even then, until whenever we get to World 8 and beyond, specifically World 8, 9, and 10, I think this is one of those cases about the fact that eventually at this point, that we might actually avoid a lot of these boost pads, because you probably can tell why I'm truly saying that until tomorrow, because even then, I was gonna able to expect it to able to upload this and during every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays potentially, but then again until 2020, things were about to change at that point, so even then, let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. So, but this level's not so bad though when it comes to like using these boost pads, because even then you have to hurry things up. It kind of reminds me of World 6-7 for some reason, but except the fact that it has like a long stretch of road. So even then, yeah, that takes care of the majority of the levels. Now it's boss time. And yeah, as I said before, that this is where the boss fights get significantly harder at this point. This is the forms of Yuka, which is basically like a trapeze kind of monkey or something like that, or in this case a more set, you know, kind of character, which is calls it Yuka. Which basically that in order to actually deal the damage on her is of course herself. So you don't have to necessarily try to like interact with stone parts, as you can tell, but the only makes this boss fight a lot difficult than the majority of the boss fights is that sometimes it feels a little bit too long, first of all, and second of all, it's basically a waiting game of any sorts, and finally, perhaps the most notable thing is the fact that sometimes it's easily pretty luck-based at times if you really want to able to survive in this fight, especially with this stupid, you know, jumping for the rope kind of attack, because if you couldn't tell already, it sometimes feels pretty unpredictable, and sometimes if you mess one jump up, well, basically you have to restart the entire boss battle again. So, it might be not nearly as hard as the final boss was, but it still is pretty tough nonetheless. But, relatively speaking, it's the fact that because some people seem to say this is by far the hardest boss fight in the whole entire game, or one of, because, well, another problematic I feel like in this boss is that sometimes trying to jump onto the forms of the actual weak spot, in this case, Yuka, who's herself rather, because, you know, is a female Marset, and basically it's pretty luck-based every time you want to try to able to actually jump right into her. Frankly, it's easy on the ground, but when it comes to like if she tries to able to jump onto the forms of the multitude of balls, as you can see right there, majority sometimes can be evolved around spike balls or just normal spheres for that matter. Sometimes it is so difficult to able to actually just try to jump on her whenever you're trying to able to actually attack her from those little multitude of balls, but that again is pretty luck-based kind of thing about it. And another keep that in mind, as I mentioned this before already, another thing I don't like about this boss fight is that it took way too long, and it's also like a waiting game of any sort, because you have to wait until every single stones or rocks or spheres rather. It's hard to pronounce what these things are. And basically, we need to wait until when it starts fading to gray, or black and white rather. And then sometimes though, that every time when it starts to bring back color, it brings itself alive. But then, if it goes like all gray with all these colored balls and spiked balls, yeah, that's what they usually call it. And basically, it's your chance to able to actually just attack Yuka. So, yeah, definitely a little bit of a difficult boss fight indeed, because then again, if you screw up at least once or twice, then, well, basically, it's not as easy as it sounds. But, it's also because it's, another thing that's worth mentioning, though, is the fact that every single boss fight does not have any bananas at all, unlike in any other levels of the game, including the actual bonus stages. So, I'm fine with that, but it's just that, well, in some bosses like this, this particular boss, it just makes it a little bit, tricky to able to actually just try to attack her. But, hopefully things can get a little bit more significant or anything like that until the final boss in the game, which we're probably not going to point things out until later on though, as it is. So, yeah, the best way for the actual skipping rope kind of attack, as you can see right there, ever since during the forms of, I would say in, I can't remember what the actual boss fight they actually evolves around like that, but that'll be for later time. But for now, we'll just have to mainly concentrate on this boss fight. So, even then though, that if you're not paying attention to the actual attacks whatsoever, your lives can able to drain very quickly. Because other than the fact that if you're having a good time with some levels, well, the only exception being is of course level 3, just because of that stupid luck factor goal hit detection right there at the very bottom. But then, if you manage to pull this off flawlessly, on the other hand, well, at least you might actually give yourselves a good time with this world, specifically with the actual music, but, it's just that this boss fight can get pretty tough at times. But anyway, so we've only got one hit point left. Oh, no, he's trying to push, or she's trying to push me off the stage. Oh, no. Oh my god, that was really close. I almost gonna knock myself over. But anyway, let's go ahead and finish her off. And there she goes. It kind of reminds me of that particular villain from the likes of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, by the way, from Season 8 all the way up to Season 9, which is by the forms of Cozy Glow. Spoiler warning for those who have not seen it yet. So, yeah, just kind of reminds me of her. So, anyways though, 7 worlds completed and only 3 more worlds to go. I can't even believe we're actually breezing for this game pretty fast and attempt to, despite the actual trial and error situations like this. So, yeah, I guess we'll pretty much get things off here. So join me next time on Let's Play Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz until a day before the HD remaster will eventually get released until tomorrow, as I said before. I think we'll probably go ahead and deal with the forms of World 8, which appears to be Space Case, the final main world of the game, excluding these 2 special worlds. So see you guys tomorrow.